121 teams to go in my road to predict all 131 teams. This college football offseason, guys, we're on to the Kentucky Wildcats, and we're starting to get down to it in the SEC. The Kentucky Wildcats, a team that was very, very good last year. The second team coming out of the SEC East behind only the reigning national champions. This was a very, very solid team last year. Mark Stoops has this program in a very, very good direction. And a lot of people think that this team can win 10 games this year. Can Kentucky prove people right and take that next step and get a double-digit win season? Or will Kentucky fall back down a little bit in 2022? What's up, Tailgaters? My name's Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 131 teams this college football offseason, which means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit that subscribe button down below. Ring the bell so you know when your favorite team gets uploaded. And especially Kentucky fans in this video, but the fans out there in general, you guys are going to know your favorite team a lot more than I will. So if you feel like I missed something, got something wrong, want to add something onto the video, if you could just leave that down in the comment section below, that would be very helpful. Let's go ahead now get into Kentucky in 2022. They are my 4th ranked team in the SEC. We're starting to get up there, guys. You probably know who 3-2-1 are now, but probably know who 3-2-1 are by now. But Kentucky, the 4th ranked team in the SEC in my eyes. This is the team that's supposed to be pretty good this year. But what did they do last year? Well, they were 10-3 last year, 5-3 in conference, and were a very, very good football team. On the offensive side of things, 425 yards per game, 32 points per game. On the defensive side of things, this was a pretty good defense. 337 yards per game, along with only 22 points per game, and that's allowed. This was a Kentucky team that was very, very good. Very good at stopping the run, too, as well. Only around 117 yards per game in that remark. So, very, very good defense on this side, but the offense also shined when it needed to as well. So, be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what Kentucky looks like here in 2022. But this is a football team in this year that a lot of people expect to win 10 games under head coach Mark Stoops. But in order to understand what they have coming back, we got to know what is leaving. Joey Gatewood is gone. He wasn't going to be the starting quarterback next year, so he is transferred out. You got lots of guys in that wide receiver room that are gone. Wan'Dale Robinson, who had an amazing season, the former Nebraska prospect last year. Josh Ali is gone as well. He was another very good talent. And then the wide receiver tight end combo, Isaiah Epps, gone. Also Justin Rigg gone as well. Couple offensive linemen off there as well. One of the best pass rushers in the SEC, and Josh Paschal, is also gone off this team, as is linebacker Katie McDaniel, who was very, very solid last year. I do want to run through some numbers real quick back to the wide receiver group. So Wan'Dale Robinson, 1,334 yards on 104 catches and 7 touchdowns. Josh Ali had 41 catches for 601 yards and 3 touchdowns. So there are some stats for your wide receivers. For Josh Paschal, what a phenomenal talent. 52 tackles, 5 sacks last year. Was really, really good. As for Katie McDaniel, he has gone off that team as well. And lots of guys in also Marquand McCall. Skip the name there. Defensive backs. Oof. This team is getting hit with defensive backs. Yusuf Corker, gone. He was the leading tackler last year. Had 8 passes defended as well. Was really, really good for this Kentucky team last year. Also got guys like Robinson, Cedric Dort, and Quandre Mosley gone off this team as well. But there's a lot of nice talent coming back, and you can definitely see why people think this team is going to win 10 games. Will Levis, however you pronounce that game again, I'm sorry if I mispronounce the names as well. He's coming back, 2,826 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions last year. Clean up those interception numbers, Will. And this Kentucky offense can be a whole lot more efficient. I know they can if Levis can just clean up some decision-making. I mean, he's a pretty good quarterback, but he's going to need some weapons step there up as well. We'll talk about that. Couple running backs coming back in Chris Rodriguez, who was phenomenal last year, 1,379 yards and 9 touchdowns, as well as Smoke, 416 yards and 4 touchdowns for him last year. Also, Levis on the ground was pretty solid, 376 yards and 9 rushing touchdowns. So good for him. At the wide receiver position, you got a transfer coming in, Tavion Robinson, I believe, over from Virginia Tech. So that's going to be key for this Kentucky team. Also got DeMarcus Harris coming back on this team. Only 150 yards and a touchdown last year, but figures to take more of a role in the wide receiver group next year. You also got guys like Isaiah Cummings, Keaton Upshaw at the tight end position as well. On the defensive side of things, a couple of defensive linemen. You're tied for leading tackler. Jaquez Jones also had 82 tackles, 4 passes defended, 1 interception. Also returning DeAndre Square, who was just one behind him with 81 tackles and 3 sacks on the year as well. J.J. Weaver led this team in interceptions last year, or was tied for it at least with 2. Also provided 6.5 sacks for this team. And in terms of defensive backs, Keydron Smith is a transfer coming in. Also, Ijan and Valentine coming back for this team as well. So, yeah, can absolutely see why people are going to think Kentucky's going to win 10 games this year, because this is a very talented roster. And the only thing I'd be concerned with Kentucky, I think that defense is going to be just fine. Maybe find some way to replace Josh Pascal, but I'm sure Kentucky's going to be fine in that regard. It's the wide receiver group. It's the pass game. If Will Levis can clean up his decision-making, and if he can get some help, like some Wan'Dale Robinson type help from guys like Robinson, Harris. If Tavion Robinson can turn into Wan'Dale Robinson, and DeMarcus Harris can be kind of the Josh Ali, while Isaiah Cummings is more of the Isaiah Epps type player, this is going to be a very good football team next year. There's no doubt about that. Taking a look at the Kentucky schedule, looking at non-conference games first, and there's not a lot of intrigue, in my opinion, in the non-conference game until the very last game of the season. So they got a game at home against Miami of Ohio, Youngstown State, and Northern Illinois. And at the very end of the season is the rivalry game, of course, with Louisville. Now, Louisville returns a very good quarterback in Malik Cunningham. So I think that's going to be maybe a closer game than some people think. But Kentucky does get that game at home. That's a big advantage for them there in terms of SEC play. We're going to look at road games first, as they got 2 very tricky road games to start off their SEC slate. You got a road game in the Swamp against Florida and a game on the road against Ole Miss. I just did Ole Miss. You guys would have seen it earlier today. So you can go watch that video if you want to hear my thoughts on Ole Miss. But other road games against Tennessee and Missouri there as well. As for games at home, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Georgia are games that they get at home. So kind of talking around my thoughts on the schedule again, I don't think the non-conference is going to be too interesting, although they do play the reigning MAC champions in Northern Illinois. But again, should be able to win that game there. That game against Louisville, I've already talked about it a little bit. I'll talk about it more here in a little bit. In terms of SEC slate, you got some tricky road games. Florida, Ole Miss, and Tennessee are tricky road games on there. And you got Missouri as a road game there as well. But I figure Kentucky should be able to go in, get that one done. I think there's a pretty sizable talent gap between this Kentucky team and what Missouri has. And again, I've already done my Missouri video. But, I mean, just some tough places to play here when you got to go on the road and play those 3 teams. Florida, they're going to be led by a Heisman candidate at quarterback. Ole Miss, they could be doing the same thing with Jackson Dart, another sneaky Heisman contender there. And Tennessee figures to be a pretty solid team this year as well. And you got games at home that, I know I say this pretty much every video, but you got games at home that you like to have at home. South Carolina, they're going to be a tricky team to play. Mississippi State, they're also going to be a tricky team to play. And you get the defending national champions at home late in the season. You're going to be tested, and you're going to be ready for that game. But you can't sleepwalk through the Vanderbilt game either when you got that at home. Can't look ahead. Maybe let the Vanderbilt game get a little closer than expected. So there you go. Again, I don't do game by game. I do more percentage-based outlook. So if the game's in red, probably not going to win. If the game is in orange, you're still probably not going to win, but upsets can happen. Yellow are your 50-50 upset potential games. Games in yellow-green are games that you should probably win, but might want to circle them on the schedule, might want to watch out for them. And then green, games that you're going to win. So there are only 3 games in true green. That's Vanderbilt, Youngstown State, Miami of Ohio. You could put that Northern Illinois game in green as well. But again, with the reigning MAC champions, you never know with these Group of 5 conferences. So Northern Illinois could still be pretty good. Kentucky shouldn't sleepwalk through that game. When you look at the SEC schedule as well, again, games at home they like to have at home. You got Vanderbilt at home. What more can you ask for there? Other games at home, you got South Carolina, Mississippi State, those are big wins. You would not want to go play those teams on the road. South Carolina's getting Spencer Rattler. If he doesn't start out slow, well, usually this is the time of year, too, where Spencer Rattler looks like the Spencer Rattler that we all would kind of expect. But South Carolina did as well in the transfer portal as anybody. So watch out for that one. And fans in Starkville are looking for Mississippi State to take that next step this year. That could be a tricky team. They get them both at home. You get the blue and white behind you. But the games in yellow, again, you got the 3 tricky road games there. The Swamp. And they're going to be led by Anthony Richardson, again, a Heisman talent, quarterback that has Heisman-level potential. Same thing with Jackson Dart at Ole Miss, especially if that Ole Miss defense can get a lot better, maybe slow down this Kentucky offense that might be able to start to find its groove, or probably should be able to start to find its groove at that point in the season. That's going to be a huge win. Also on the road at Tennessee there. Tennessee figures to be pretty good, led by Hendon Hooker at quarterback. They're returning a lot of talent this year, and Josh Heupel has this team moving in the direction that Volunteer fans would like to see. And then you have that home game against Georgia, and upsets happen. I expect Georgia to be the favorite in that game late in the season, but Georgia's going to be coming off another tricky road game on the road against Mississippi State. And that's a game that Mississippi State could win. Georgia also could be looking ahead to that road game against Kentucky, trip up against Mississippi State, or maybe they barely get through Mississippi State, and then they have to go back on the road next week. That Georgia game at the end of the season is going to be very interesting as well. So we'll see what kind of happens there. But guys, all in all, for Kentucky, expect 9 wins this year, and maybe they can go with more. But I'm going to stick this team at 9-3. 3 very interesting road games here, including a home game against the defending national champions, none of which are going to be easy games for Kentucky to win. But I do expect them to win at least one of them, but I could see them losing all 4, but I don't really see this team doing any worse than that. I could see this team going as worse as 8-4, maybe 7-5, but in my opinion, I really don't see this team going worse than 8-4. And best, I could see this team going 11-1, pulling off an upset against Georgia, going on the road, beating Florida in the Swamp, beating Tennessee at home. In my opinion, in that 11-1 scenario, you'd either lose to Georgia or one of the 3 road games. But more likely than not, this Kentucky team probably, in my opinion, will be around the 9-10 win range. But I do see 11-3 as a possibility. So there you guys go. There's my video on the Kentucky Wildcats. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that. Again, I think if Will Levis can clean up some decision-making and get some help out of his new wide receivers, then Kentucky's going to be just fine. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next one. Goodbye.